All right, let's tackle a big one today. Is value investing dead? We're going to go on a little journey from the guy who invented it all the way to its most famous student and really figure out if this whole idea still works in the crazy market we're in right now.
And you can totally see why people are asking this, right? I mean, everything today feels like it's about AI, crypto, or the latest meme stock that's going to the moon. In a world like that, a slow, old-school strategy, it can feel, well, ancient. Does it even have a place anymore?
You know, this quote from a Reddit user it nails the problem perfectly. So many people try what they think is value investing. You know, they pick a stock with a low number, it doesn't work out, and bam, they write off the entire idea. But here's the kicker, as this person points out. That's not actually value investing to begin with.
And that right there brings us to the big myth, the one we really need to bust open. This whole idea is so much more than just finding a stock with one low number next to it.
Okay, so at the very center of this myth is the PE ratio, price to earnings. It's super simple. You just take the stock price and divide it by how much the company earns per share. And for decades, a low PE was the classic signal for a cheap stock, a potential bargain just waiting to be scooped up. But here's the problem. If you just go around buying stocks with low PE ratios today, you're probably going to be disappointed, big time, because you can fall into what they call a value trap. These are companies that are cheap for a really good reason, like their whole industry is dying. And it's this exact bad experience that has so many people shouting, "See, value investing is dead." So to figure out what value investing really is, we got to rewind. We need to go back to the beginning. Back to the guy who literally wrote the book on the whole thing. Okay, let's talk about the OG, the father of value investing himself, Benjamin Graham. We're going to look at his big ideas, and you'll see how they're still shockingly relevant even almost 100 years later. Now, the context here is absolutely everything. Graham didn't come up with these ideas during a bull market where everyone was making easy money. No, this was forged in the fire of the Great Depression. We're talking total financial chaos. So at its heart, this isn't about getting rich quick. It's about survival. It's about being smart and careful. And his single most important idea? It's called the margin of safety. And look, this isn't some crystal ball for predicting the future. It's way smarter. It's about doing the hard work to figure out what a company is actually worth, its real intrinsic value. And then, and only then, buying it when the market is having a sale and offering it to you way cheaper. That gap, that discount, that's your cushion. That's your protection when things go wrong, because they always do. This quote is just brilliant, and it perfectly sums up how Graham saw the market. He said, in the long run, the market is a weighing machine. It eventually figures out a company's true weight, its real value. But in the short run, it's a voting machine. It's just a wild popularity contest, driven by hype, fear, greed, all the human emotions. So to really bring this idea to life, Graham came up with this amazing story about a guy he called Mr. Market. Imagine he's your business partner. And this guy is, he's moody. Every single day, he shows up at your door. Some days, he's on top of the world, totally euphoric, and he offers to buy your shares for an insane price. But other days, he's a total mess, completely depressed, and he'll offer to sell you his shares for pennies on the dollar. And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. You don't have to listen to him. You are totally free to just slam the door in his face. His job is to serve you, not to tell you what to do. His crazy mood swings are your opportunity. You buy from him when he's freaking out and selling cheap, and you think about selling to him when he's way too excited. You use his emotions, you never ever let his emotions use you. So Graham basically laid this incredible foundation. But then his most famous student ever, a guy named Warren Buffett, came along and gave it a massive upgrade for the modern world. And this slide, right here, shows you the single biggest evolution in the entire philosophy. See, Graham was a bargain hunter. He looked for what he called cigar butts, fair companies at a wonderful, super cheap price. But Buffett, with a lot of help from his partner Charlie Munger, had a huge realization. It's way better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price. Okay, so what on earth makes a company wonderful? Well, for Buffett, it means you have to go way deeper than the numbers. You have to understand the business. Does it have what he calls an economic moat, something that protects it from competitors? Do you trust the people running the show? Can it consistently make money year after year? We're talking about a whole different level of analysis here. And this piece of wisdom from Charlie Munger is just pure gold. He's saying, listen, You're not a genius who can predict everything. Nobody is. The market is pretty smart most of the time, but every once in a while, it makes a mistake. It misprices a bet. Your job is to do your homework, wait patiently, and I mean really patiently, for one of those rare moments, and when you find one, you bet big.
All right, so we've got Graham's solid safety-first foundation and Buffett's brilliant upgrade to focus on quality. But now, these ideas have to survive in a world that neither of them could have ever really imagined. So why does it all feel so much harder to do today?
Well, here's the core problem, and it's something big firms like Morgan Stanley have pointed out. The old school tools, things like a simple PE ratio, they're just not as reliable as they used to be. The economy today is just a completely different beast. Let's break down exactly why the old playbook is so challenged. First up, the speed of information is insane. Back in the day, Graham could flip through a report and find a hidden gem. Today, supercomputers find that same gem in less than a second. Second, think about what makes a company valuable now. It's often stuff you can't touch. Brand power, software code, patents. How do you even put a price on that? Third, our accounting rules are stuck in the past. If a software company spends a ton on R&D, it's counted as a cost, which makes their earnings look smaller than they really are. And finally, you have these giant waves of money from index funds and 401ks just buying everything, all the time, no matter the price. It completely changes the game.
So, with all these huge new challenges, is it time to just give up? Throw the old playbook in the trash? Absolutely not. The real answer is to take those timeless, core ideas and pair them with some new tools.
So one great example of a modern tool is something called the PEG ratio. It's basically PE 2.0. You take the PE ratio, but then you also factor in how fast the company is expected to grow. A low number here can signal that a stock is cheap relative to its future potential. It's a way to apply that classic value mindset even to a fast-growing tech company. So this all boils down to a modern investor's checklist, but you'll see the principles are timeless. First, know the difference between investing and just pure gambling. Second, understand the actual business you're buying, not just its ticker symbol. Third, always insist on a margin of safety, even if it's harder to figure out today. Fourth, remember Mr. Market. He works for you, not the other way around. And fifth, have the discipline to only bet big when you find one of those rare, truly special opportunities. So let's go back to our big question. Is value investing dead? The answer is a clear no. But it has definitely evolved. It's not as simple as it used to be. It takes more work now. You have to understand quality, you have to think about those intangible assets. But that core philosophy, the idea of thinking for yourself, of being an owner and not a gambler, well, that's more important today than it has ever been. And in the end, it really all comes back to that powerful idea from Graham. The market is a voting machine, driven by logic and emotion. So the real question isn't, is value investing dead? The real question is, how are you going to cast your vote?